Just going back to our top story earlier this hour, North Korea has conducted its first ballistic missile test since September. We can now hear from Brian Becker from the Anti-War Answer Coalition. Thanks for joining us today on RT, sir. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Why do you think North Korea has decided to conduct a missile test now? There's been a 2-month pause. What's with the timing of this situation?
Well, if you want to have an advanced missile technology program, they must be tested from time to time. They must be tested at different times of the day under different weather conditions from different locations. I think the Kim Jong-un government in North Korea made it very clear in their New Year's message to the nation that they were planning to go forward in what they called the final stage of the nuclear weapons program, so that DPRK, North Korea, would be understood to be a nuclear power by the world. And by having this kind of very advanced intercontinental ballistic missile test, which was successful, it traveled 2,800 miles straight up. It could have, if flown horizontally, traveled about 8,000 miles, in other words, the distance to Washington, D.C. It's clear that the DPRK, which has been treated as a rogue nation led by crazy people, a bunch of peasants, maybe ignorant, has in fact developed a very effective missile technology program and nuclear technology program, which they consider to be existentially important for their having a deterrent against the menace that they perceive from the United States, the largest military in the world.
And of course, the United States Defense Secretary said this latest missile test was the biggest one. It went higher than any previous launch we've seen. We've seen quite a muted response, haven't we, from the U.S. administration. Mr. Trump said he'll take care of it, whatever that means. Why do you think there's been such a calm response from the U.S. to this?
We don't know, actually. Trump has been all bluster and bluff. In spite of the fact that Trump says he's a great negotiator, the art of the deal, you never know what Donald Trump's bottom line is because there's so much bluster. He said from the podium of the United Nations General Assembly that he was prepared to totally destroy North Korea. He called its head of state Little Rocket Man. He said that the United States would use fire and fury, the type of which the world has never seen, to take out North Korea. And at the same time now, he sort of calmly says, in the face of this missile test, we'll take care of it. That sounds ominous on its face, even though it sounds a bit muted, a bit calmer than some of his other vitriol. We don't really know, but it's quite clear if the United States, and there are many advocates here who favor this, goes to war or carries out a military strike against the DPRK will not wait. The DPRK will fight back, and we will have a major war which will take the lives of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people. The last time the United States engaged on the Korean Peninsula, 4 million Koreans died, 38,000 Americans died. This is madness. The United States needs to enter into serious negotiations with North Korea and end the hostility. The Korean War needs to finally come to an end.
And of course, the US and South Korea will be launching a big military exercise near the border on December the 4th, coming up very soon. There'll be thousands of American troops there, as many as 12,000, we understand. Now, given the tension on the peninsula, on the border, is that potentially a dangerous thing to do?
Yes, I mean, the North Koreans will operate as if this war exercise or war game could quickly morph into a real invasion, because the war game, so-called, simulates the invasion and destruction of their country. Now, the U.S. did invade North Korea not so long ago, in 1950, and it did destroy North Korea. So this is not some, abstract thing for the North Koreans. They've experienced this. Now, what North Korea will do is put its entire military on high alert. They don't know whether the U.S. will take advantage of these biannual military exercises, the largest in the world, to carry out some sort of military adventure. If they do, of course, the North Koreans will strike. Seoul, the city of Seoul, a city that has 17 million people in the metropolitan area, is just 30 miles from the DMZ. Even without nuclear weapons, North Korea's conventional artillery can decimate big parts of that city very quickly. So the stakes are huge. The stakes are high. And I have to say, there's this body of opinion in America that says war with North Korea is inevitable. Let's get it over with sooner than later because they're only getting stronger. And after all, most of the bleeding and almost all of the dying will be done over there, not by Americans. It's a cynical approach towards international politics, and it's the opposite of real diplomacy.
And of course, saber-rattling on all sides doesn't do any good here as well. I mean, do you think the South Korean government, for example, should they be doing more to actually establish some direct talks with the North and to find a diplomatic solution to avoid any potential confrontation here?
Well, I think Moon Jae-in, who was elected, and there was so much hope and so much optimism, even euphoria by Koreans who are hoping for a de-escalation of tensions in the Korean Peninsula. Moon Jae-in came in with the program of establishing dialogue and negotiations and direct talks with North Korea, as happened in 2000 and 2007. But I think the U.S. Pentagon put such extreme pressure on South Korea and ratcheted up the rhetoric against North Korea, and then North Korea responding carried out numerous military tests, including the test of a hydrogen bomb, which it said it needed to show a deterrent capability. That put the South Korean government in a corner, so they've used harsh rhetoric. But I think the Moon Jae-in government still has the opportunity to reach back to Pyongyang and do what I think all the Koreans in the North, in the South, and overseas Koreans, and all the people who want peace want, which is negotiations, not a new catastrophic war.
All right, Brian Becker there from the Anti-War Answer Coalition. Thanks for your insight today here on RT International.